special good afternoon to all of you. As we know, we are celebrating our third international conference on World Mental Health Week, and we have a very special guest with us in today's session, Honorable Anthony Altman sir from Israel. He is a clinical hypnotherapist, researcher, holistic life coach, philosopher, reflexologist, a spiritual counselor, and therapist. And today he is going to discuss the very interesting and knowledgeable topic that is mental health and psychological health are structured in the consciousness. So, for understanding the various aspects of consciousness, let us listen to Honorable Sir. And if anyone has any query or question, you can ask directly in the live session on the YouTube. So, first of all, thank you so much, sir, for providing your valuable time. I think you can start now.
Thank you very much, Samyak Chandel. I thank you for inviting me and allowing me to talk here at the Diva Karuna conference on mental health, psychological health, and self-actualization. My name is Anthony Altman, as Samyak said, and I am a retired clinical hypnotherapist who has studied the conscious and subconscious mind quite extensively. Samyak actually gave a rather large list of various things that I have learned and practiced and involved myself with. I've spent 62 years of my life doing many, many things, living in various parts of the world and various continents to learn my various life lessons, to acquire more knowledge, information, and hopefully wisdom, so that I can be of greater service to all human beings, all of life, in the best way that I can by providing information that is helpful, inspirational, and I hope motivational. I will be talking for about 45 minutes, and afterwards we can have some questions. For the people who are going to see this video on YouTube later after the conference, if you wish to connect with me, please connect with Samyak Chandel, the gentleman you just saw introducing me at the Divya Karuna conference organization in India. I really admire the work that they're doing. They're doing their very best to help promote mental health, psychological health, and self-actualization. And I think it's wonderful that we from different parts of the world, Africa, America, England, Australia, even me here in Israel, can actually help provide some information that is helpful for the people. I will now discuss the three areas of consideration in this talk. The first one is the brain, then the mind, and then consciousness. The brain is the seat of mental health. The mind is the seat of psychological health, and consciousness is the seat of self-actualization. The brain is the physiological piece in this great puzzle and operates with by means of electromagnetic energy, apart from necessary nutritional ingredients that we get when we eat the food. And all these help to maintain optimum good mental health. The brain is in fact directed by the mind, of course, and a healthy mind supports a healthy brain function, mental health function. The mind is the seat of the psychology. This is where we store all our learned beliefs, learned patterns of behavior, and learned programming. Now, in order to have psychological good health, all beliefs, all patterns of behavior, all programming which we have learned in our life are to be life supporting. This is obvious. Unfortunately, this is not always the case. Many of our beliefs, patterns of behavior, and programming are not life supporting and are in fact life damaging. And I could spend hours and days discussing what we can do about this, but I'm limited, if I may say that, to just 40 odd minutes of speaking. So I hope to provide enough information to help inspire you to go out and develop the idea, your knowledge even more. Because even though I'm discussing what these parts of the self are doing, I am going to also discuss what we can do to repair any damage, any limitations. Consciousness, that unseen, elusive quality that very few of us really understand what it is located in the unified field of creation. That has many names. And it's the means by which creation expresses itself. So a balanced mind equals a balanced psychological health. So let me just describe briefly what consciousness is. And please understand that consciousness is completely indescribable. And I'm attempting to describe that which is indescribable. Consciousness is not actually the actual perception. It rather is the medium by which conscious awareness and all perception can exist. Consciousness is the quantum field of energy by which the conscious thinking mind is aware of the perception of anything and everything. So behind perception is consciousness. Consciousness is that field of energy known as the quantum field, the field of all possibilities, the infinite field, the morphogenic field, the source of all solutions, the source of all possibilities. Some people might even say it is God. Conscious awareness is structured in consciousness. Absolutely. And as consciousness is further developed, so does conscious awareness expand. I'm going to describe this very shortly with a little exercise that you'll find, I hope, illuminating. Consciousness is the means by which universal law and natural law are accessed spontaneously and easily. I'm going to read this again because I've listed them all out and I don't want to miss any of them because this is the nitty-gritty of living a balanced, healthy life, balanced, healthy mentality, psychology, and to help us self-actualize. Consciousness is the means by which universal law and natural law are accessed spontaneously. And that means once we're doing that, nobody needs to tell us what to do, when to do, and how to do it. Conscious awareness, therefore, is the ability to be consciously aware of our thoughts, our words, our actions, all our perception. Consciousness is the means by which human beings can express themselves and evolve into higher frequencies of knowing and existence. Enlightenment is structured in consciousness. Consciousness is the realm of the observer, observing the observer who is observing the object. I love this. This is really tricky to understand. Let me explain. You are observing an object. You, being the observer, your lower self in this respect, is observing the object. Now you, the higher self, being the unseen observer, is observing you, the lower self, as you observe the object. And to be able to perceive this, to understand and be consciously aware of your higher self, lower self, interacting with life, this requires that we just develop a little more consciousness. So here is an exercise to describe consciousness a little bit more clearly. You cannot do it now, but after you've listened to this lecture, please, when safe and appropriate, go to the wall in your house, wherever you're living, and stand with your right in front of the wall with your nose touching the wall. Without moving your head, you will be aware that your perceptual ability is approximately 12 inches, which is about 30 centimeters horizontally, and about 6 inches, 15 centimeters vertically, without moving your head. Now, this posture where you are now is symbolic. It demonstrates where our consciousness is in the present time, generally speaking. Now, if you were able to develop a little bit more of your consciousness, in effect, you would be able to step back from the wall just one step. And then your perception of the wall would expand hugely, exponentially, much greater than you had before when you were standing at the wall with your nose touching the wall. Now, let's just assume that you now have stepped back and you are seeing the wall in all its glory, and you are talking to somebody in front of you who's got his nose or her nose pressed against the wall. And you said to that person, look, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this. They will not believe you because it's not in their field of perception. They don't know what you're talking about. And in fact, they will call you a conspiracy theorist. That is the truth of the matter. So in this way, does perception increase exponentially as well as the frequency of energy at which you are vibrating. As we develop consciousness, we raise our frequency. As we raise our frequency, our conscious awareness expands. As that expands, we are having a dynamic effect on our mental health, our psychological health, and we are in the process of self-actualizing because all that is totally dependent upon raising consciousness. And so mental health is a natural state of being when you are in the process of raising your consciousness. Psychological health, the same. And self-actualization, which is another word or another two words for enlightenment, is a natural result. Another thing is that as we raise our consciousness, we are spontaneously able to connect with that area, that universal library of all knowledge called the Akashic Records. This is a non-physical form of the recording of all that was, is, and will be potentially. And as we raise our consciousness, we're able to connect with that. And that knowledge, the increased intuitive nature, all supports greater mental health. Mental health, the deterioration of mental health is caused directly by not being able to fulfill one's life, by not living a fulfilling life. Same thing with psychology, our psychological health. When we are limited, when we suffer, when things are not going very well, as soon as we are able to develop more consciousness, expand more conscious awareness, the ball game changes. The goalposts move, everything changes. And it's all natural, spontaneous. So let me go back to the brain. The brain is affected by the electromagnetic energies, not least of which are those from cellular telephones, especially when they're held close to your head when you are speaking on the phone. I would not recommend that. When the phone is kept on and is placed by your head when you're sleeping, you're receiving these shortwave radio waves all the time. All the cell phone towers, the 3G, 4G, computer routers, and particularly 5G cellular short radio waves, which have a negative effect on the brain, mind, and body when we're in lower levels or lower states of consciousness, when we don't have the ability to protect ourselves. As we raise our consciousness, we are naturally able to protect ourselves from such radiation much, much better, much better. Furthermore, and this is interesting, solar flares and coronal mass ejections from the sun also send out huge electromagnetic energy, and some of them can be considered as mild to strong EMPs, electromagnetic pulses, which are organically created electromagnetic energies that have a positive effect on the body, brain, and mind. I say positive because they affect healing. Unfortunately, sometimes healing causes disruption, so people they misunderstand that healing. You've heard of healing crisis. Sometimes you're in the process of healing and you don't feel so good, or you feel that things are shifting and changing and you're disorientated. It's good because you're changing and improving, and it's good for you to understand that. Now, I would say the brain is the seat of all our mental acuity, of course, and potential, and is in particular directed by the mind, that unseen energetic aspect of our complete self, and with which we have become disconnected in some measure. Mind, heart, brain, body, there's become a separation. The idea is to bring body, mind, spirit, soul, heart all together in a unified whole, and we're able to do that as we raise consciousness. When the brain is adversely affected by negative and harmful electromagnetic wave energy and inadequate nutrition, the brain becomes dysfunctional. Such dysfunction is demonstrated in many different ways, and the common thread is that the individual thus inflicted is challenged to think critically and logically. In other words, we lose the ability to think critically or logically when our brain is dysfunctional and we're experiencing mental health issues. And that is purely because we are out of sync, out of tune with our total self. The health of the brain is therefore compromised. The solution, in my opinion, is for the brain to be closely connected with the mind, which is better equipped to handle that which the brain may not be able to do so. And it is the mind that may be providing the platform by which the brain becomes dysfunctional. So it's a two-edged sword, and I'll explain. The mind is that non-physical part of us that is a major connection of our complete self to creation, the source of all, the unified field of all possibilities, the quantum singularity or oneness of all that is. Many lovely names. However, the mind can also become dysfunctional through trauma, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, fear, and programming by external influences. The mind is divided in three parts: the conscious thinking mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. For this lecture, I'm just going to deal with the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious thinking mind is no more than about 10% of the conscious mind, yet its power is in the ability to think deductively and inductively. Deductively means this happened, and this is why it happened. Inductive thinking is, if I do this, this is going to happen. It is also original in nature, and therefore it is highly creative. On the other hand, the subconscious mind is said to be about 1 million times more powerful than the conscious mind, but it is not creative at all. It doesn't have an original thought. It follows whatever programs that are lodged there, whatever you've learned, whatever patterns of behavior, however you've been programmed, it will always cause you to act according to what's in the filing cabinet. It is the repository of all thoughts, experiences, impressions, feelings, emotions, and actions that have been stored in the mind. It is constantly in operation all day, every day, and all night, and every night, even when you're asleep. It is a huge filing system that records and stores everything you perceive, including, as I said, learned beliefs, learned patterns of behavior, and learned programming. If the learned beliefs are limiting in any way, such as I'm not good enough, I'm poor, I'm weak, I'm a loser, I'm incapable of doing such and such, to name such a few possible limitations, that belief will govern everything you think, everything you say, you speak, and all your actions that you perform. If the learned patterns of behavior are also limiting, the same applies. If you are programmed by parents, the school system, which we all are, the legal system, the medical system, and by any figure of perceived authority, and that programming is limited in any nature, in any part, in any way, it will have the same effect. It will limit your words, your thoughts, your actions, until you change it, and you can change it. The net result of all the above mentioned negative influences damages mental and mind health, which means that the psychology of such a person is extremely limited in its expression. We've discussed that consciousness is an individual that connects him or her to the absolute nature of life and creation at its source. Consciousness, therefore, is the means by which the brain and mind are either positively affected or adversely affected, depending on how much consciousness an individual is utilizing and how much innate consciousness a person has cultivated or developed. In this respect, the mind and the brain are directed by an individual's developed consciousness or the lack of it. So let's ask a few questions. Consciousness, what is it? It is a field of energy that supports the ability of creation to function in a human being, in animals, in all life forms. Where is consciousness? It's everywhere. What are its benefits? It is the font, the source from which all creativity springs forth. How can one develop more consciousness? This is the question each of us is to ask ourselves. And the answer is quite simple. You just have to learn and practice any activity that will enhance and develop more consciousness, your consciousness that's innate within you, that's not being used. A few such examples of this. Meditation. This is the best, the very best, meditation. Meditation is not what a lot of people think. It's a formal, learned, specific technique. It's not just sitting thinking. That's not meditation. Most of the meditation techniques originate from India. I've been practicing transcendental meditation since 1971 and became a teacher of that technique in 1976. I also learned two other meditation techniques, both Kriya Yoga, one from Yogananda Self-Realization Fellowship Organization, and the other from Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, the Art of Living Organization. I just wanted a degree of comparison. I wanted to expand my knowledge of meditation. In this way, I have an unbiased approach to meditation, knowing that different people will be attracted to different forms of meditation and different techniques. Now, the meditation that I practice is with a mantra. Kriya Yoga techniques use sound, they use breathing, and they use movement, physical movement. Now, I really urge anybody who wishes to learn how to meditate properly to find a teacher, because learning from a book, it's easy. But as you practice the meditation and you're having subjective experiences, you will have questions. Well, you can't ask a book a question. So you ask a teacher. So a teacher would be good. But unfortunately, in many cases, not all, but in some cases, you are obliged to pay. The Self-Realization Fellowship, you don't pay. And I think the Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, you don't pay. I may be wrong. This is going back a long time when I learned it. However, there are two very simple techniques that you can learn, and you can get them off the internet. The one is called the void, or another word, another term for it, another title is the empty bowl meditation. Very, very simple. And you can learn it very easily. And if you would like to discuss it with me, contact me through Divya Karuna organization. The gentleman you saw at the beginning who introduced me, Samyak Chandel, and then he will be able to give me your email, and I will communicate with you. Another meditation is the use of Soham, which is a mantra, but it also uses a little bit of breath, and it's very, very simple, very, very good, very powerful. And you can also find this on the internet. The other techniques that I recommend to help remove limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs, limiting patterns of behavior, are using hypnotherapy. I'm a little biased there because I used to be a hypnotherapist, but hypnotherapy is powerful. It works very, very quickly. I also suggest neuro-linguistic programming, otherwise known as NLP. Also excellent. You can, but you do require people to help you, somebody, a therapist to help you, just like hypnotherapy. However, there is another technique called the emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, which you can learn on the internet. And if you learn it properly and you have the right focus and right approach, and you are sincere and authentic, you can actually do it on yourself. And it's very, very good. I have done so, and I can recommend that. Another approach, apart from therapy, is consciously addressing whatever you can perceive as weakness and limitations within yourself, and then utilizing suitable affirmations, the use of affirmations, which according to various Indian methods of healing, you are to repeat 108 times at least one round, and do it many, many, many rounds for an hour or 2 hours a day, for 21 days, for 40 days. I've done all this. It's a lot of work. It's arduous, but I tell you, have had some incredible results from this. Another good approach, which is helping me even today, is from Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, who died in the 70s, a leading spiritual light in India. And he has 3 precepts. He says, self-inquiry, number 1, self-inquiry. Ask your higher self, how can you improve yourself? How can you be better? How can you heal yourself? And then the second precept is to surrender to your higher self. I had trouble in doing that because I didn't know what surrender to higher self was until I changed the word surrender to trust. That made it very easy for me. I trust my higher self. I have faith in my higher self. And now I'm able to surrender to my higher self. That higher self is your soul, your higher aspect of who you really are. And the third precept is pay attention to the results of doing the first 2 things and to everything else that's going on in your life. All accidents, which are not accidents, occur when you're not paying attention. Another attribute, another process that you can do is mindfulness. Paying attention to everything you're doing is mindfulness. So mindfulness is actually another kind of meditation. Mindfulness is paying attention and being aware, consciously aware of what is going on around you and within you as much as you can. The best way to learn it, I have found, is through the Vipassana organization, Vipassana, Vipassana. This is an organization promoted by somebody, Gunka, I forget his first name, Gunka, an Indian who was living in Burma. I think he's died now. And he discovered this ancient technique that I believe came from Buddha. And they have centers all over the world. And it's a 10-day retreat in silence. Vegetarian food, they give you a bed to sleep in, and it's 10 days. And they teach you how to meditate. And I'm telling you, you'll never be the same afterwards. They don't ask for a fee. They ask you to pay a donation as much as you can afford. And this I recommend strongly. I've covered a lot of material. And I've done it as quickly as possible because I didn't know how long I would be, and I think I'm a little ahead of my time. I'm not sure. They had a little glitch in India, so my talk did not occur at the prescribed time. So everything's a little And to be able to learn how to flow, and this is another point, flow. Mental health and psychological health depend on how much you resist any and all life situations or how you flow. Now, if you resist, that means you're insecure and that it's not happening at the right time, it's not happening in the right way with the right person, and you get upset, and this has an effect on your total being. But if you can allow yourself to learn the process of flowing with whatever it is, there is less stress on your brain, your mental abilities, your mind, and your psychological condition. So, in conclusion, I can safely say that when you develop more of your innate consciousness, you will be in a much better state and condition to heal and resolve limiting issues which are lodged in your subconscious mind, will be better and which will be better positioned to positively influence your brain, mental state, mental health, and of course your psychology. See, a lot of people don't really understand that your mind handles your psychology, which handles your emotions. Your emotions have very little to do, if anything, with your heart. Your heart is the repository of your feelings. Feelings and emotions are two different things. Emotions are up and down, very unstable. And that depends on what's going on in the mind, the psychology, easily disrupted. The heart is much more stable, especially as we raise consciousness. Did you know that the heart produces an electromagnetic field stronger than the mind, the brain? That in fact it has neurons in the heart. There's quite a lot of neurons in the heart. That in fact the brain, the heart, the whole being is not separate. Brain being here, heart being here. It's all one being. You are one complete being. In this way, the brain is able to function at higher levels of balance and good health, as does the mind. The conscious and subconscious is able to be clear of debris and expand. And to top it all, the person is well on the way to raising their frequency of vibration and becoming enlightened. This is the way that evolution directs us. All we are to do is choose that direction if we want to. Now, I've got a little note here for myself, because most people say, well, how do you do this? I've explained, and you'll have to perhaps watch the video again. I know that in some areas I spoke a bit fast. I wasn't sure. I get a bit excited. I'm very, very excited about this kind of work, the human condition. We as human beings have huge potential. Would you believe that the average human being is using 4 to 5% of their total potential? 4 to 5% of their minds, 4 to 5% of their brains, 4 to 5% of their perception of the light spectrum. And I would say about the same for the sound spectrum. As human beings, we are really quite dysfunctional because we're not operating more than about 4 to 5%. And this could change because we are working on two strands of DNA, a double helix. As we raise our consciousness, what the scientists who are misinformed, they say 96% of our DNA, because we use only about 4 to 5% of our DNA, they say 96% of it is junk DNA, which is rubbish. 96% of our DNA is not functional because it's not switched on. And how do we switch it on? Well, we raise our consciousness. We do all these things that I have discussed about briefly here and more. The solar flare, electromagnetic EMPs coming from the sun help switch on the codons, which are nucleic groups of nucleic acids within the DNA. And as we switch on more DNA, step by step, we expand our consciousness, we self-actualize more, life becomes absolutely better and better and better. So, if you are intent upon improving yourself, the first thing to do is to make a choice. What you're going to do. And in order to do so, you are required, I would suggest, that you go on the internet and you educate yourself. Read books, listen to YouTube videos, Rumble, BitChute, wherever you can get information. Learn as much as you can about the subject or the direction that you want to go in. And armed with knowledge and wisdom, you then focus on that direction you want to go in. You then apply yourself. Even if it's learning a technique of meditation, you make a choice, you focus on it, you apply yourself, and you are required to have courage, because as you learn, as you progress, all sorts of things will come in your way to prevent you. Maybe other people are trying to discourage you, perhaps some past karma that you have unresolved. You'll feel obstacles, you'll have obstacles. The idea is to get past those obstacles. And in order to get past those obstacles, and some of those obstacles may be limitations within yourself, certain belief system. Oh, no, you can't learn this meditation. You're no good, don't you? You're a loser. And if you haven't healed that, that could be an obstacle. You have courage. You apply your focus. You apply tenacity. And then you succeed. Success. So again, choice, focus, application, courage, tenacity, success. And those are the words that I have for you today. I hope you have enjoyed this. I really do hope to speak with Samyak Chandel in the future. And thank you very much for listening. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful and insightful presentation. You have explained the brain and the mind in a scientific way about the different levels of consciousness, means conscious, subconscious, and the superconscious. Although you take only conscious and subconscious in this lecture, you have very well explained the various techniques of meditation adopted by all over the world, enhanced through various yogic, for example, Maharshi Raman and Vipassana meditation techniques, mindfulness. You also mentioned NLP. It is also very useful and very much adopted nowadays. And at the last of your session, very important thing I want to mention that a human potential, it is truly human is not aware about their real potential. So, sir, it is really a very insightful session. With your permission, I would like to take few questions from our audience side. Can we take few questions?
Thank you. I would be happy to answer questions if I can.
Okay. So, sir, first question is the unconscious mind something that cannot be revealed, or if it can be revealed, so why we are calling it unconscious?
This is a very good question. It is unconscious because most human beings are unconscious. We speak, we think without conscious awareness. Many times people will say something and they don't know they've said it. They will do something and they don't know that they've done it. Most human beings at 4% potential are unconscious. As soon as we start raising our consciousness and we are expanding the percentage of our potential, the unconscious becomes conscious. That is what enlightenment is. There is no unconsciousness when you are enlightened. You are totally aware. The light is shining so bright in you, there's no darkness, there are no shadows, there is no unconsciousness. You are totally conscious, totally aware of everything. So unconscious becomes conscious. It is unconscious with most of us because we are still learning how to raise our consciousness, how to be enlightened.
Uh,
A good
another
question.
question. Another question is, what is our true self? How one can achieve it?
A wonderful question. Thank you. Our true self is the totality of what we are in this human being and what our total soul is. Now, soul, very in science, we are regarded as fractals of the totality of life. It is like a holographic image. If you have a hologram and you cut a little piece off, in that piece is the whole image. We are like those little pieces, but within the little piece, we have many, many aspects to ourselves. So the only way we are able to know our true self is as we raise our consciousness and we follow that path towards enlightenment, and we are in fact bringing ourselves back. It's like, if you remember the nursery rhyme, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall and he fell off in pieces. Okay, we're all in pieces. When we bring ourselves back into one piece, one whole piece, we are fantastic. And that is our true self, our totality of being our true self. And the only way that we can appreciate that is when we are raising our consciousness. A good exercise, you stand in front of the mirror and you look in the mirror, you look in your eyes and look beyond your body. The body is not yourself. The body is just temporary. 20, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, then it's finished. Look in your eyes and have the intention of looking at your soul. You will get a glimpse of your true self. You will get a feeling and you will get a glimpse. Develop that. Learn how to meditate. Learn anything and everything that you can do to self-actualize. Develop your mental health, your psychological health. Become enlightened, and you will be gifted with the knowledge and wisdom of your total self. That's the best I can describe it.
Thank you so much, sir. A question from my side is, as we are discussing about the mental health, so in your opinion, what is the importance of education or understanding of consciousness for the mental health professionals, especially for the treatment of mental disorders? Because nowadays various therapies, various way of treatment, especially in mental health, are introduced, but the importance of consciousness is there. So how, what is your message or what is your guidance to mental health professionals about the understanding of consciousness?
Wonderful question. Thank you. In my opinion, the medical profession of the West, Western allopathic medicine, tends to separate everything. Whereas Ayurveda, the ancient medicine of India, brings everything together. Now, India, Ayurveda has mental health department within Ayurveda, but it's not separate. It's all together. Now, in the West, you've got people who study mental health. What can you do with mental health? It's the brain, it's the mind. Unfortunately, in my humble opinion, you are not going to find the solution or the even problem by discussing the problem on the level of the problem. Many years ago, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi told me, the problem with most people is they deal with problems on the level of the problem. You have to go beyond the problem. So what is the level beyond mental health? Well, it's mind and consciousness. So if you are able to help the patient to, first of all, perhaps release whatever the issue may be, usually it's a psychological limitation, because mental health is the result of psychological dysfunction. Sometimes it's the result of brain damage, but then you're not able to apply a therapy to fix that in many cases. Not even then you can, but that's another subject. So the mind is the place, is the repository where we can learn how to help heal what may be the cause of the mental health. I've treated many people with mental health issues, and the best way is to find a way to release trauma, stress, fear, those three things. Most human beings are in fear one way or another. Many human beings have experienced trauma, and many experience the feelings of inferiority. These are kind of psychological dispositions. But if you can help address these, the mental health will automatically heal itself. Mental health is not separate from the mind and not separate from consciousness. So then if we go even further to consciousness and you help the person meditate, let's say somebody who's having mental health issues, and you help them to meditate, this will give them a platform upon which they can do their healing. I don't feel that drug therapy helps mental health. I had a son who had a mental health problem, and he was on 2 psychotropic drugs for 10 years, and that killed him. He died. But before he died, they tested him again, and they realized that he didn't have a mental health problem. He had a sleeping problem. And because he wasn't sleeping, he had a mental health problem. So misdiagnosis is another issue. Misdiagnosis is another issue. So I feel that there are so many things that we can do. And I feel that perhaps the best thing we can do is to help ourselves, as if you're a doctor, if you're a therapist, to be as balanced as you can, as knowledgeable and as wise as you can. And then maybe you will be in a better position to help people with mental health issues or psychological issues. Because I believe, from what my experience has told me, these issues are entirely healable. They can be healed relatively easily. Certainly with hypnotherapy, certainly with neuro-linguistic programming, certainly. They are just learned beliefs, learned patterns of behavior, and learned programming, in my opinion. I don't know. Does that answer your question? I hope.
Well, yes, it is very knowledgeable, and you mentioned very important points to this answer. Uh, Let me take last question for today's session. Uh, Here he wants to ask how to make our education system conscious
More
oriented. Let
embedded.
me take it a little bit, sir. It is also seems that today's education system is more research oriented. So when we talk about the consciousness, about these kind of theories or the concepts, the scientists are uh, means a group of scientists don't rely that it is not a basis of research or evidence how we can make it research oriented. So what will your advice to all this community and how to make the education system more conscious?
Thank you. Wonderful question. You're asking incredible questions. Incredible questions. This tells me of your sensitivity, your intelligence, and your consciousness, my friend. Thank you very much. Um, Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. In my humble opinion, and I say that with all humility, by the way, great humility. I respect and honor your intelligence and your consciousness. Thank you. The question is absolutely essential for us to progress in life. And at the expense of seeming to be a little negative, I want to take you back 100 years. 100 years ago or thereabouts, I'm not going to mention names, but a very rich man decided that it was important for him to control schools and universities in order to control the sharing of knowledge, because there are people on this planet at this time, it suits them that everybody remains ignorant, because then they make more money, they have more control. Would you agree with me there? Thank you. And he's one of those people. Same thing with the medical profession. This person gave money to the universities, gave money to the medical associations and the hospitals. They said, you do what I tell you and you'll get plenty of money. And that's what they did. Also, schools were used for political indoctrination. In most of the best schools in the world, you have the indoctrination of the left, communism, socialism. That's where they all came from. Certainly in England and in America. I don't know about India. And certainly in this country, in Israel. So schools and education was used as a tool to help the people who wanted to control humanity. Education, as we know it, has failed dismally. I'll give you some examples. If you go on YouTube and you speak to, I think his name's Tim Bryce, there are a few of them. There are people who go around America and they interview people, ask questions, just random. Where is the Taj Mahal? In America, they would say, where is the Mount Rushmore? Is where in South Dakota, where all the four big statues, the heads of the previous presidents of America, they've carved it out huge. It's in South Dakota. It's called Mount Rushmore. Where's Mount Rushmore? And the people say, oh, China, India, don't know. This guy and other people went to universities to ask simple questions. Unfortunately, education, as we have known it, has failed dismally. People can't write, they can't speak, and they don't know anything. We have to completely change our education. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to help change the way we live our lives, the way we are governed. And it comes back to people like you, me, and everybody else. When we raise our consciousness, we will elect leaders who will help us, not harm us. When something happens, we will say, no, we don't like this. At the moment, people just keep quiet. And then they wonder why there are problems in the world. So education must change so that we can learn. I'll give you another example. You know, on our planet for thousands of years, we've had wars, plenty of wars. When somebody goes into a country and he conquers that country and they write the history books, the history is always written from the point of view of the victor, of the person who wins the war. The people who lose the war, nothing in the history books. This is rubbish. We want both sides have to be in the history books. We want to know how they suffered, what they did, what happened, both sides. We are to bring education to be as holistic, unbiased as possible. The only way you can do that is when the individual people, we teachers, are more balanced, we are more knowledgeable, and we have more consciousness. And so we don't have private agendas. There's a big job we have. And with this COVID-19 and I don't want to go into that, and the pandemic, the people are going to learn some big lessons, because if they don't, when this yuga is finished, we're going to start all over again, humanity, because we're not learning. We are to learn some very, very big lessons. And the lesson is, let me be balanced. In the Self-Realization Fellowship, it says, let everybody be balanced. No, there's another one. Let everybody be balanced, and let it begin with me. I want to be balanced. And when everybody wants to be balanced, we will all be balanced. When we are more balanced, life is going to be much better. It's going to change. Certainly in your country too. There'll be a lot of changes. In this country, we have terrible problems in this country. There will be a lot of changes. So I do not have much faith in the educational system anywhere on this planet at this time. But I know it's going to change. And it's going to change because people like you and Divya Karuna are doing something from India to help change this. And so I have great love for you and Divya Karuna. I have great love and respect, because it's people like you that are helping to change the world, to make it a better world. Thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much. We will definitely do what we can do with your blessings and guidance. And it is really a nice and wonderful session, sir. And in future, we will also gain guidance and knowledge from your side always. You are like mentor, guru, or teacher to ourselves, and all the new generations like me. And before winding up the today's session, what will be your conclude message to whole the world and humanity through this session? What the message you wants to give whole humanity?
Well, thank you for asking me that. We have about nearly 8 billion people on this planet, 7.7 billion people. We have been through the most terrifying experience on this planet with the COVID and the vaccines. We're at the verge, we're at the end of many major cycles. I think even Kali Yuga is coming to an end, I believe. I'm not sure about that, but I know that a 26,000-year cycle of the precession of the equinoxes is coming to an end. The 5,000-year cycle of the Mayan calendar is coming to an end. There's a lot of endings. We're in the Aquarian age now. We're coming out of a 2,000-year Piscean age of great trouble, trial, and tribulation into an age of light, of love, of compassion, of self-actualization. But it is up to the people to make that choice. And I am I'm confident that there will be sufficient people, maybe 10%, maybe 20%, who will choose to change and to help others and to express divine, unconditional, universal love, compassion to all life, all living creatures, including the animals. We don't have to eat animals. I don't. I'm a vegan, or nearly. I eat some eggs, but from a special place. I'm nearly a vegan. I don't need to eat animals. In fact, I became a vegetarian in India when I was in India, and I spoke with a wonderful holy man from India. And even the plants we can respect. We don't need to fight. We don't need to harm anybody. Our mind is to change. Our hearts are to change. And I feel that we are at this point where we have this opportunity. It's like a window of opportunity that's open. And if humanity, if enough people, and some people say that, if 10% say, yes, yes, let's have this, that will be sufficient critical mass that will influence the other 80 or 90%. I believe that. If we can do that, then we have a chance to begin a new phase, a new cycle where we can learn, teach, share, love, compassion, and help each other. If we don't, then we're going to start all over again from the beginning, whatever that is. I don't want to think that. I want to feel that there are sufficient people in India, in Israel, in America, United States, Canada, Mexico, England, Europe, who want to balance themselves, who want to raise their consciousness, and together as one family, human family, we can bring ourselves up into the light. I feel that we can do that. It all depends on how many people choose to do that. I know you choose to do it. I choose to do it. And I'm praying that there will be many, many others that join us. We can all join together as one family. Now, what does it mean? It means that we stop blaming the presidents and the prime ministers and the leaders because the people put them there or allowed them to stay there, to stop blaming everybody outside and to say, right, the change, the positive change, it begins with me. What can I do to change? How can I improve myself? Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, how can I improve myself? How can I improve myself every day? How can I improve myself? And then do something. Surrender to self, to higher self, to God, the all that is, Krishna, whatever. It doesn't matter what name you use. Jesus, it doesn't matter. Surrender to that light. And then pay attention. And sometimes we say, oh, we went wrong. Yeah, come back to the straight, come back. And if we can all do this together, we will start creating immediately a better way to live. And other people will see and they will want to join. They will want to join this beautiful club of light, love, and compassion. This is my vision for humanity.
Thank you so much, sir. And everyone should adopt these divine qualities in their self. And first of all, the most important thing is the change we want to see in the world. First of all, we have to adopt in ourselves. So, at the individual level, what best divine qualities we can adopt? First, to try to adopt on our individual level, then it automatically will be shown in outer world also. So, thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful and insightful message to all the humanity.
Thank
And
you.
I hope that we will definitely meet again with some great sessions, insightful
Right.
sessions. And with your permission, now I would like to wind up this today's session.
Before you go, Mahatma Gandhi, he told us, we are to be the change we want to see in the world. So many good things come from India. Your country is a blessing, in many, many ways. Thank you. Thank you.